After 7 years of marriage to Lu Huarian, his cherished first love was diagnosed with severe depression. She attempted suicide 3 times, but thankfully, she was saved each time. She was afraid of everyone, yet she clung to Lu Huarian with complete dependence. So, Lu Huarian brought her home, and she became the little princess of the household, and so, I became their caretaker. It wasn't until his beloved White Moonlight had another episode and threw a bowl of hot soup on me that I decided to get a divorce. Shunshi had another episode. She stood in the kitchen doorway and began to recount her misfortunes, from losing both parents to having nothing left in the world. I knew I couldn't upset her now, so I tried to find a way to call Lu Huarian, but Shunshi stopped me every time. I whispered to my son, telling him to go make a phone call, but before he could even dial, the sound of the front door opening came from the entryway. Lu Huarian was home from work. 11:11. I'm home. Every day when he came home from work, the first person he called for was Shunshi. Each time, Shunshi would rush into his arms, pouring out all her fears and longings from the day. But today, Shunshi didn't move. Instead, upon hearing his voice, she snatched up a bowl of soup I had just ladled out with lightning speed. I sensed something was wrong and was about to dodge. But Shunshi had already flung it at me. I instinctively raised my arm to shield myself. The scalding soup splashed all over the back of my hand and arm. The searing pain on my skin made me cry out. Splash! Shunshi smashed the bowl onto the floor. Lu Huarian and his son came running in at the sound. My son rushed to my side, and his young eyes immediately found the angry red swelling and blisters on my arm. His eyes instantly welled up with tears. Mom! Before my son could finish, Lu Huaiyan's angry voice cut him off. Han Tong, what are you doing? 11:11 is sick. How could you let her into the kitchen? Look, her hand is all red from a burn. The last thread of composure in my mind finally snapped. By the time I came to my senses, Shunshi was already nestled in Lu Huaiyan's arms. Sobbing quietly, my son stepped in front of me, shielding me as he argued my case. Dad, Auntie Shun came into the kitchen on her own. Don't blame Mom, and besides, Mom burned her hand. Lu Huarian glanced at my hand, and the anger on his face subsided a little, though his tone remained harsh. Hurry up and make dinner. I'm taking 11:11 to get some ointment. With that, he put his arm around Shunshi and took her upstairs, not even bothering to ask about my burn. And the absurd part was, he still expected me to finish cooking. In that moment, all the exhaustion and hurt came flooding in. The burn on my arm throbbed with a searing, heart-stopping pain. I crouched on the floor, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. My son was only 5, but he already understood what was happening. He fetched the burn ointment and, mimicking how I tended to his own scrapes, gently dabbed it on with a cotton swab, softly blowing on the wound every so often. Daddy is just a bad man. From now on, Hang Hang will take care of Mommy and protect her. We're not friends with Daddy anymore. Hearing my son's words, the tears I had been holding back finally fell. Lu Huarian led Shunshi downstairs. Shunshi had already changed into a different set of clothes. Lu Huaiyan stood at the kitchen doorway, frowning at the mess on the floor. Why haven't you started cooking yet? 11:11 is already hungry. Before I could say a word, Lu Huarian had already taken Shunshi's hand. Never mind, I'll take her out to eat today. You should just rest at home since your hand isn't up to it. He had only taken a couple of steps when he seemed to remember something, turning back. He reminded me, I've already put 11:11's worn clothes in the laundry room. Remember to wash them, and use the lavender detergent. 11:11 likes that. Oh, and tidy up the kitchen properly. Make sure you find all the broken pieces of the bowl, especially in the living room. 11:11 likes to walk barefoot, so we don't want her to step on any. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. My 5-year-old son had been with me in the kitchen the whole time, and he never once asked if the boy might get hurt. Lu Huarian truly had eyes only for Shunshi. I looked at the petals Shunshi had scattered all over the living room floor, and then there were the snacks she'd scattered all over the floor. The kitchen was a mess of spilled soup and broken bowls. I watched them head out, all polished and put together, and then I looked at myself, the injury on my hand, clothes covered in stains. For a moment, I felt utterly exhausted. Mom, does Dad not love us? The son, who had been silent all along, finally mustered the courage to ask. His young face was a picture of conflict, his eyes, the spitting image of Lu Huaiyan's, filled with confusion. My heart gave a jolt. even a child could see it, and I didn't know how to respond. 7 years ago, Shunshi chose to pursue her dancing dreams abroad, leaving Lu Huorian behind. From that point on, Lu Huorian was a broken man. That same year, his father also passed away from illness. I stayed by his side the entire time. One night, after too much to drink, we crossed a line and ended up together. We got our marriage license, but didn't have a wedding. Even so, I was perfectly content. 6 months after getting married, I was pregnant again. With Hong Hong's arrival, we became a happy family of 3. It was 2 years ago that Shunshi was in a car accident overseas. Her parents died in that crash, and she herself was left unable to continue dancing due to a leg injury. That day, Hang Hang was celebrating his 3rd birthday. Upon receiving the call, Lu Huorian left for abroad without a word. He was gone for a whole month. When he returned, he brought Shunshi with him and settled her into an apartment near the company. From then on, Lu Huorian hardly ever went home, heading straight to Shunshi's place after work. By that time, Shunshi had already been diagnosed with severe depression. Lu Huorian, fearing she might have another accident, ultimately decided to bring Shunshi home and asked me to quit my job to take care of her. Perhaps he never loved me at all, otherwise, he wouldn't have brought Shunshi back without a second thought for my feelings. Watching their sweet interactions every day, I feel like the third wheel standing in their way. I've thought about just leaving with our child, to step aside and let them be together. Seeing the longing for a father's love on my son's face, my heart softened once again. My son seemed to sense my sadness. He stopped asking questions and instead tried to comfort me. Mom, go rest in the bedroom. Hang Hang is a big boy now. Hang Hang can do the chores. Mom doesn't have to work so hard. From now on, Hang Hang will love Mom. By the end, his voice was growing thick with emotion. He hung his head, his little hands clutching his clothes tightly. A pang hit my chest. I crouched down and cupped his little face. Only then noticing it was already streaked with tears. Flustered, I gathered him into my arms and carried him back to the bedroom, keeping to the clean floor along the wall. After I had soothed my son to sleep, I sat alone in the living room for a long time. How did my life ever come to this? Looking at the mess before me was like looking at the complete shambles my life had become. Finally, I took out my phone, found the lawyer I had consulted before, and, with his help, mustered the courage to print out the divorce papers. Lu Huorian came home very late. I was lying in bed, almost asleep, when he roughly yanked me out from under the covers. What followed was a torrent of scolding. Didn't I tell you to tidy up the house? Did none of it get through to you? I said nothing. He turned on the light and only then realized I was angry. Chapter 3. He seemed puzzled, frowning. It was just a couple of words. Are you really still that upset? My eyes suddenly grew hot, as all the grievance and resentment welled up in my heart. Even though I tried my hardest to hold back, my voice still came out trembling and choked with sobs. It was Shunshi who threw the soup at me. She's a patient. Do you really have to take it so personally? Lu Huorian cut me off. His brow was furrowed with frustration and helplessness. As if to say I was being completely unreasonable, I wiped the tears from my eyes. I knew he would do this. What was I even hoping for? My disappointment hit rock bottom right then. Lu Huorian sighed and turned to leave the room. When he came back in, he was holding a tube of ointment. Let me see how bad the burn is. We need to put some ointment on it. I simply lay down and pulled the covers over my head. I can't stand his fake concern. He rushed to care for Shunshi immediately, yet only came to tend to my wound 5 hours later. Tong Tong, Lu Huorian called my name again, seeing that I remained motionless and silent. He seemed to lose his patience, slamming the door shut with a bang as he stormed out. He went to the room downstairs. This had been his routine ever since Shunshi moved in. He had previously said it was to make it easier to look after Shunshi. I later found out it was because Shunshi once saw us sleeping in the same bed. She went berserk and smashed everything in the house. Lu Huorian only started sleeping in separate rooms from me to keep Shunshi happy. I woke up very early the next day. The living room and kitchen were still in the same chaotic mess as the day before. I didn't tidy up either. I woke my son up, took him out for breakfast, and then dropped him off at kindergarten. Lu Huorian called me several times along the way. It was nothing more than asking where I was, telling me to hurry back and take care of Shunshi, because he had to go to work. Of course, The most common thing they say is to hurry up and get the house in order. At that moment, I suddenly decided I'd had enough and replied with dripping sarcasm, "She's your precious first love, not mine. I'm not his nanny or caretaker. How you want to look after him is your business, so don't bother me with it." There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds, clearly not expecting me to say that. I didn't care what he thought and hung up the phone without a second thought. I didn't want to go back to that house, so I just wandered aimlessly around the mall. When I got tired, I went to a cafe to rest for a bit. I kept at it until it was time for Hung Hung's school to finish. Then I went to pick him up. I could tell he was upset the moment we left the school gates. I had to ask him a few times before he finally mumbled in a low voice, "Mom, the teacher said there's a parent-child event next Tuesday, and both parents are supposed to come." But Dad, my heart ached, and I felt tears welling up. Ming Ming and Hang Hang lived a very happy life until Hang Hang was 3 years old. Lu Hurian was very good to Hang Hang. The first thing he did after coming home from work every day was to hold Hang Hang. Now, when Lu Hurian enters the house, Shunshi immediately throws herself into his arms. For Hang Hang, even a simple hug from his father now feels like a distant hope. I gave my son a hug and said, "Go tell your dad that mommy will go with you." When we got home, however, I discovered that Lu Hurian hadn't gone to work at all that day and had even hired a housekeeper to clean and cook. Shunshi sat quietly beside him, behaving just like anyone else. Hourly workers bustled between the dining room and the kitchen. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. I told Lu Hurian back then to hire a caregiver for Shunshi. What did he say at the time? He said Shunshi was afraid of strangers and that it would negatively affect her condition. She forced me to quit my job so I could take care of her. Chapter 4. During the meal, Lu Hurian did something rare. He served food to my son and me. The boy's eyes lit up at this, while a fire ignited in Shunshi's gaze. The boy licked his lips and looked at his father cautiously before saying, "Dad, the teacher said there's a parent-child event next Tuesday. Will you go?" As if afraid of a refusal, he quickly added, "The teacher said both parents should be there." Lu Hurian was taken aback for a moment. He glanced at his son a few times, then lowered his head to look at his phone without saying a word. The boy seemed to have understood the answer. His eyes instantly reddened, and he pressed his lips together, lowering his head in disappointment. I clenched the chopsticks tightly in my hand. "I'm free next Tuesday. I can go with you to the kindergarten." Lu Huiyan's sudden words burst forth like a firework. My son's head snapped up, his eyes wide with delight. "Mom, Dad said he'll come to kindergarten with me. I can finally introduce my dad to my friends." Watching my son's joy, my eyes welled up and my heart ached. I patted my son on the head and told him to hurry up and eat. I looked up without thinking and happened to meet Shunshi's sinister gaze. She smiled at me, and her eyes turned back into those of a harmless little bunny. The night before the parent-child event, my son was too excited to sleep. He kept tugging at me and talking, "Mom, it's Dad's first time coming to my kindergarten. What if he doesn't know my teacher?" "Well then, Hang Hang, you can be the one to introduce Daddy to the teacher." We talked for a long time, until finally he was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open, clutching the toy Lu Hurian had given him 2 years ago. A smile lingered on his lips. I patted him gently. "Go to sleep now, you have school tomorrow." "Don't worry, Dad will definitely be there tomorrow." The next day at noon, my son and I arrived early at the kindergarten gate. A classmate greeted my son and asked if his dad was coming today. My son would proudly say, "Of course he will." The other parents had already started arriving at the kindergarten, but Lu Hurian was still nowhere to be seen. My son's expression began to grow uneasy. He held my hand tightly in his little one and asked anxiously, "Mom, is Dad still coming?" "He will. Dad must have been held up by something." As I said this, my back was soaked with sweat. For the past 20 minutes, I had been calling Lu Hurian non-stop. At first, no one answered, and then his phone was turned off. I couldn't reach him. "I have no idea where he is." "Hang Hang, why isn't your dad here yet? You little liar. Do you even have a dad?" "Exactly, I've never seen your mom." "You only have a dad." Hang Hang was surrounded by the other kids, all asking him about his father. My son stood there, embarrassed and speechless. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly pulled my son into my arms. "Mom, Dad, he..." Just then, my phone buzzed with a WeChat notification. My son's eyes instantly lit up. It must be Dad. I was really hoping it would be Lu Huarian, but then I saw all the messages above were from Shunxi. She had sent several videos. Every single one I opened showed Lu Huarian with her at the amusement park. There were a few more photos after that, also selfies of Shunxi nestled in his arms. A wave of immense resentment and fury surged through my chest. I couldn't control the trembling in my hands. At that moment, I wanted to tear that wretched couple apart. However, I suddenly remembered something, hurriedly put away my phone, and saw that my son was already in tears. His young face was a picture of confusion and doubt. "Mom, why did Dad lie to me? Does he really not love us anymore?" I didn't want to lie to my son, but this was a step we had to take sooner or later. He asked cautiously, "If Mom and Dad get a divorce, who would you live with?" His son's face was full of determination. "From now on, I only have Mom." I knew that at that moment, he was utterly disappointed in Lu Huarian as well. When I came to my senses, my son and I were already locked in a tight embrace. After the parent-child event, I withdrew my son from the school. I went home, packed a few essentials, placed the divorce papers on the table, and walked out the door without a backward glance, holding my son's hand. While accompanying Shunxi at the amusement park, Lu Huaiyan kept glancing at his watch, sensing something was off. Shunxi still tugged at him, insisting they ride the carousel one more time. Lu Huaiyan glanced at his watch once more, and a sudden unease settled in his chest. "What time is Hung Hung's parent-child activity this afternoon? We can still make time for one more ride on the carousel, right? But Hung Hung's kindergarten is quite far from here, and with traffic, I'm afraid we won't have enough time." 11:11, let's do this another day. I have to take Hang Hang to his activity today, and we'll be late if we don't leave now. Shunxi's expression instantly darkened, and she sharply pulled her hand away from his. "Brother Huarian, are you really going to leave me behind? It's so rare for us to have a day out. Why are you letting someone else's business ruin our time together?" Lu Huarian frowned in irritation. "That's not someone else, that's my son." "Fine, go then, but I swear, if you walk out that door, you'll never see me again." Watching Shunxi's frantic state, Lu Huarian was filled with lingering fear, terrified she might attempt suicide again. After much hesitation, he finally agreed. "All right, I promise you, I won't leave." Yet, the moment he said it, his mind was flooded with the image of his son's hopeful, expectant eyes. A sharp pain shot through his chest. He took out his phone, intending to let Han Tong know he'd make it up to their son when he got home that evening. But then he discovered the phone was switched off. It couldn't possibly be out of battery. He instinctively turned to look at Shunxi. Her eyes were filled with panic. Lu Huarian powered on his phone, and a flood of notifications appeared, over a dozen WeChat messages and more than 20 missed calls. They were all from Han Tong. Reading her WeChat messages one by one, each one asking when he was coming over. "The event is about to start. Are you going to lie to Hang Hang again?" By the time he had finished reading every single word of the messages, his hands were trembling uncontrollably. Hang Hang asked so timidly and cautiously if he could attend the parent-child event. He was overjoyed when he heard the agreement. But what about now? What has he even done? He actually got the time of his son's kindergarten event wrong. The thought of his son's pitiful, crestfallen expression made his heart ache sharply. He desperately wanted to pull his son into his arms and whisper "I'm sorry" over and over. It suddenly hit him that it had been so long since he'd last held his son. He'd even forgotten how much he weighed. His heart was pounding wildly. A nameless dread flooded his limbs. He turned to leave, but Shunxi wrapped her arms around him from behind. "Brother Huaiyan, are you really leaving? What about me?" Lu Huarian grabbed her wrist, wrenching it away, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at her. "Who told you to touch my phone?" Shunxi was terrified by this version of Lu Huarian, her whole body trembling. "I was afraid someone would disturb us, so I just..." Lu Huarian didn't have the patience to hear another word. Cutting her off directly. "Stop following me. I'll have someone take you back." On his drive to the school, Lu Huarian tried calling Han Tong countless times, but every call went straight to voicemail. He finally made it to the school, hoping to catch the tail end of the event, but the school was already closed. Hang Hang should be home by now. He wanted to buy some of Hung Hung's favorite snacks and toys, but he couldn't for the life of him remember what his son liked. With no other choice, he decided to just drive home first. He was thinking about how to make it up to his wife and son once he got back. He had always understood Han Tong's temperament. She would never truly get angry with him. So, on the day he brought Shenxi home, even though she threw a huge fit, didn't she ultimately give in? At this thought, a sudden shudder ran through his entire body. How could he have bullied a woman who loved him to her very core into silence? He was absolutely terrified. The sense of foreboding in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Arriving home, he pushed the door open and went inside. A figure rushed directly into his arms, but the very next second, he shoved the person in his arms away with brutal force. Caught completely off guard, Shenxi landed hard on the floor with a thud. She let out a sharp cry, staring at him in utter disbelief. "Brother Hurian, what are you doing?" Lu Hurian ignored her and strode inside, from downstairs to upstairs, from inside to out. Where could Han Tong and her son possibly be? Shenxi looked at him and suddenly laughed. "Stop looking. They're gone. They're not here anymore. You're lying." "Shut up," Lu Hurian growled at her. "You don't believe me. Then what do you think that is on the table?" Lu Hurian followed her gaze. What met his eyes were the bold, unmistakable words, "divorce agreement." He read it over and over, as if the words had become foreign to him. "Impossible. This can't be," he murmured. Shenxi held on to him and seized the moment to confess. "Brother Hurian, now that the troublesome people are gone, you don't have to hold back anymore. We can be together openly. You like children, I can give them to you." Lu Hurian forcefully pushed her away. "Who wants to be with you? I have a wife and kids." Shenxi hadn't expected him to say that. She looked at him, deeply hurt. "How can you say that? Even the driver knows you only have eyes for me." You don't give Han Tong and her son a second thought. She's just like a maid in the house. So now that they're gone, you suddenly remember you have a wife and child. And what about before, when you brought me, your first love, back to your home, when you had Han Tong acting like a maid? Did it ever cross your mind that she was your wife? Brother Hurian, Han Tong left because she finally saw who you truly love. She's stepping aside for us, and being together will be good for my health, too. Every word from Shenxi felt like an indictment, laying bare all the shameful things he had done over the years. He felt as if a giant hand were wringing his heart, twisting it over and over until the pain was suffocating. It turns out he had done so many things to wrong Han Tong, yet he himself remained unaware. Chapter 7. His feelings for Shenxi were nothing more than the sympathy and pity one feels for a friend. He had never once considered betraying his marriage, or betraying Han Tong. He knew exactly who he loved. At that moment, he desperately wanted to find Han Tong, to tell her he loved her, and that he loved Hang Hang. I took Hang Hang to Disneyland, the place he wanted to visit most. He had asked Lu Hurian many times before if they could go, but each time, Lu Hurian just brushed him off with empty promises. In the end, Hang Hang could only watch helplessly as Lu Hurian took Shenxi out instead. I still remember that even when Hang Hang fell asleep that night, his eyelashes were still damp with tears. I feel so guilty for putting the child through so much at such a young age. Hang Hang is such a thoughtful boy. He knew I was hurting too, and he even tried to comfort me. "Mom, from now on, I'll protect you, we'll lean on each other." I held my son tighter. Yes, Hang Hang is my only family left in this world. Ever since my parents passed away, I have loved Lu Hurian and Hang Hang as if they were my own life. I always believed the three of us would be together forever, but things didn't turn out the way I'd hoped. These past few days, I've come to realize that everyone has their own path to follow. We don't live for others. Hang Hang and I traveled through a few more cities, and in the end, we both fell in love with the one blessed with a year-round spring-like climate. I went ahead and rented an apartment, got Hang Hang enrolled in a kindergarten, and soon after, I landed a job myself. Life is much simpler now compared to before, but the joy between Hang Hang and me has genuinely grown. At first, Hang Hang would still call out for his dad in his sleep, and after waking up, he'd lie awake for a long time. Even if he doesn't say it, I know he misses Lu Hurian. I bought Hang Hang a little white rabbit. He'd wanted one before, but Shenxi didn't like them. She even hated them. The little rabbit wasn't in the house for 2 hours before Lu Hurian threw it out. Now, during the day, Hang Hang goes to school and I go to work. In the evenings when we're back, I cook dinner and Hang Hang feeds the rabbit. Life without Lu Hurian is just so much easier. Kindergarten let out especially early on Friday. Hang Hang wants to eat hot pot. By the time we got back from grocery shopping, it was almost dark. The moment I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a tall figure leaning against the wall, head bowed as he smoked. The cigarette butts scattered at his feet told me he'd been waiting for a long time. My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively tightened my grip on Hung Hung's little hand. Hearing the sound, Lu Huarian looked up, his face lighting up with surprise. Tong Tong, Hang Hang, you're finally home. The smile on his son's face instantly froze. Lu Huarian took a few steps forward, crouched down, and gently pulled his son into his arms. Hang Hang, it's me, your dad. Don't you recognize me? The boy struggled free from his embrace, his young face set in stubborn defiance. Don't you need to be with Auntie Shen? Lu Huaiyan's pupils contracted, and he rushed to explain. Hang Hang, that day, your dad. The boy turned his face away, cutting him off directly. Mom and I don't need you. I can go to kindergarten events without you. Mom and I can go to the amusement park without you. Mom and I will be just fine and happy without you. So, just focus on keeping Aunt Shen company from now on. You don't need to lie to me anymore. Lu Huarian hadn't expected Hang Hang to say such things, and his eyes instantly welled up. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. I had rehearsed the meeting and what I would say to them so many times, wanting to ask for their forgiveness. But now I couldn't utter a single word. I sighed, reached out, and patted my son's head. Go inside first. Your mother and I need to talk. Hang Hang nodded, the little boy carrying the groceries into the house. Lu Huarian watched his son's retreating figure, and in the end, couldn't hold back his tears. He sniffled. Tong Tong, I'm sorry for all you and our son have been through these past 2 years. I said calmly, if you really feel sorry for me and our son, then sign the divorce papers right now. The assets will be divided as stated, and our son comes with me. Lu Huarian shook his head, his face a mask of remorse, his voice choked with emotion. Tong Tong, I don't want a divorce. I never wanted one, not for a single moment. Let's go home, please. Let's just go home and be a family again. The three of us. It's not what you think with Shun Shi. There's nothing between us. We have never, ever done anything to betray you. You have to believe me. I sneered inwardly. You don't want a divorce, so I'll go back to being a live-in maid for you and your first love. Lu Huarian, my son and I are bowing out. I'm done meddling in your little romance. Just stop torturing me, will you? I wanted a divorce from the start. The only reason I held back was for our son's sake, his feelings for you, his need for a father. I thought I'd give you one last chance. You have no idea how happy he was the day you promised him. He was waiting for you all along. When the other kids at kindergarten teased him for not having a dad, do you know how helpless he felt? And what were you doing then? You were with Shun Shi. You were at the amusement park with Shun Shi, holding each other. Perhaps I was speaking too passionately. As my eyes began to well up, Lu Huarian was completely flustered. He still tried to explain. Actually, that day I cut him off sharply. It seems you still don't understand your first love very well. The reason I know all this is because she sent it to me. Lu Huarian grabbed my hand in a panic, but I shook him off forcefully. He said, Tong Tong, give me one more chance. I won't let you and Hang Hang down again. I've already taken Shun Shi to the hospital. From now on, she won't appear in your or Hung Hung's sight, and she won't disturb our lives. In my heart, I love you and Hang Hang. Can we ever go back to how we were before? I replied flatly, absolutely not. I had suggested more than once before that he should send Shun Shi to a hospital or arrange for her to live outside with a hired caregiver. And what did he say at the time? He said I was heartless, that Shun Shi had no family left, that her mental state was fragile, and asked what would happen if something occurred while she was alone. So you deliberately put a rival in love right in front of me. Was it to highlight the differences between me and Shun Shi? Now that I'm gone, do you have no point of reference for comparison anymore? Lu Huarian, the truth is you only love yourself. To put it bluntly, you're just selfish. I thought you loved Shun Shi deeply, but it seems that wasn't the case at all. You wronged me before, and now you've wronged Shun Shi. You'll never learn what it means to take responsibility. You'll always love yourself the most. Lu Huarian was desperate to explain. But I cut him off the moment he opened his mouth. Don't ever disturb our lives, my child's and mine, again. The next time I see you, I expect it to be at the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize our divorce. With that, I turned and went inside, slamming the door shut behind me. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. Outside the door. Lu Huiyan's face was a mask of anguish and regret. He could bear it no longer, collapsing to his knees and weeping into his hands. After that day, Lu Huarian showed up at my doorstep every single day. Every morning, he would walk with me to take Hang Hang to school. Whenever he met Hung Hung's classmates or teachers, he would proactively introduce himself as Hung Hung's father. Hang Hang didn't seem to have much of a reaction to any of this. Because the time when he was needed most has already passed, Hang Hang never once called him dad. In the evenings, Lu Huarian would also pick him up after school. After all, he is Hung Hung's father. I can't sever the blood tie between them. As far as I'm concerned, he can only ever be my ex-husband. I won't make the same mistake twice. So when he came to my workplace for the third time to pick me up and give me flowers, I made it clear to him once again, stop wasting your effort. There's no going back to the way things were between us. To me, you can only be one of two things now. One is an ex-husband, and the other is Hung Hung's father. Lu Huarian couldn't accept it. Tong Tong. Are you really so set on divorce? We have a son. Hang Hang is still so young. How can you bear to let him grow up without a father, without a father's love? As soon as he finished speaking, his expression changed. I knew what he was thinking of. Just sign it already. Don't make me and our son sick of you. In the end, Lu Huarian agreed to the divorce. He gave half of the assets to me, and transferred the other half into Hung Hung's name. He kept only the company for himself. But he had already written and notarized his will. When he's gone, all of it will go to Hang Hang. I didn't refuse, of course. After all, who would ever say no to more money? Besides, Hang Hang is his son. It's only right that it goes to him. Even though we divorced, Lu Huarian would still always show up around me and our son. Whenever he showed up, I would quietly slip away. Let them have some father-son time. Hung Hung's kindergarten is holding a Dragon Boat Festival event, and both parents are required to attend. Lu Huarian was able to make up for last time's regret. The little game we played was a three-legged race for 3 people. Our son was in the middle, with me and Lu Huarian on either side. Although Hang Hang didn't say a word, you could see the excitement and nervousness in his eyes. When we broke through the finish line in first place, Hang Hang excitedly grabbed my hand and Lu Huiyan's, exclaiming, "Mom, Dad, we're number 1." Lu Huarian was taken aback. As this was the first time in a long while that Hang Hang had called him Dad, his eyes growing slightly red, he then patted his son's head and said, "You're such a good boy, Hang Hang." From that day on, the bond between father and son gradually grew warmer. Lu Huarian also took on the responsibility of picking Hang Hang up from school. Then one day, he called me in a panic, saying Hang Hang was missing. We searched like mad, and just as we were about to give up hope, Lu Huiyan's phone rang. It was an unknown number. When he answered, he realized it was actually Shen Shi. Hang Hang was tied up by her on the roof of an abandoned residential building. My son's face was terribly swollen and red, and his clothes were filthy. Seeing this, my heart shattered, and tears welled up in my eyes. I dug my nails deep into my palm, forcing myself to stay calm. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Shen Shi, what on earth do you want? If it's money, I can give you everything. Shen Shi grabbed Hang Hang, hauling him to the edge of the guardrail, and screamed hysterically, "I don't want your money, Lu Huarian. Isn't this son your favorite? You abandoned me for him. Would you only look at me if he were dead? Goddamnit, it's because of Lu Huarian again." I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. "Can you just stay away from us, me and my son? From now on, keep your filthy business away from my child." After berating him, I turned to Shen Shi and tried to reason with her. "Calm down. Lu Huarian has nothing to do with us anymore. I've divorced him. You two can be together now. Here, look if you don't believe me." As I spoke, I took the divorce certificate out of my bag. Thankfully, when I found out it was Shen Shi who had kidnapped Hang Hang, I had brought the divorce papers with me. At that moment, Lu Huarian came to his senses. He stepped forward slowly, his voice gentle. 1111. "I've figured it out. You're in my heart. Don't do anything rash, just let the child go. And we'll go get our marriage license right now." Shen Shi held her neck stiffly, her eyes fixed intently on him as if weighing the truth of his words. Not giving her time to think, Lu Huarian spoke again. "Did you bring the household register and your ID card? Let's go right now." Shen Shi's train of thought had been completely derailed by him. "My ID card should be..." "Wait, no, where did I put my ID card? Where is it?" Chapter 5, Shunshi, brandishing a knife in her hand, swung it around wildly in her disoriented state. Chapter 5, fearing Hang Hang would get hurt, Lu Huarian threw himself forward without a second thought, grabbing Hang Hang and pulling him close. Shunshi reacted just in time. A blade slashed across his arm, while her other arm locked tightly around his waist. Lu Huarian, you lied to me, you lied for this bastard again. I hate you, I hate you. Clutching Lu Huarian, she stumbled backward in a frantic retreat. Look out, I shouted. Lu Huarian shoved Hang Hang toward me with all his might. Daddy, Lu Huarian. Hang Hang and I watched in horror as he and Shunshi plummeted down together. Fortunately, the firefighters had already laid out a safety net below. They were rushed to the hospital immediately after the fall. Shunshi only sustained minor injuries, but was diagnosed with schizophrenia by the doctors and has been transferred to a specialized hospital for treatment. As for Lu Huarian, the injuries were more severe, a fractured right leg, a moderate concussion, with the wound on his arm being the most serious. The doctor said he damaged a tendon, and that hand will never be able to lift heavy things again. Hang Hang stayed with him at the hospital every day. Lu Huaiyan's selfless act of saving him, despite the danger, finally made him forgive his father completely. Lu Huarian often hints, directly or indirectly, about us getting back together. I always just smile and let it pass, because the hurt he caused me is now branded on my heart, something that can never be erased. Story 2. On the night my elder sister died in a car accident, my deaf husband jumped off the rooftop. When I was sorting out his belongings, I found a diary. It was densely filled with Juyu's admiration and secret love over the years. He wrote, Jiao Jiao is the moon in my heart, with my filthy self, even taking one more look at you is a sin, but fortunately, I married Fanxing, so I have the status to guard by your side. Jiao Jiao is my elder sister, and Fanxing is me. My heart ached dully. In the next second, I went back to the year when I was 18. This time, I would no longer save Juyu. Yet his eyes turned red, and his voice was full of grievance. Are you going to abandon me too? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. My husband, who had been in love with me for 7 years, didn't love me. This was the secret I discovered in his diary after his death. Jiao Jiao is the moon that I can never reach, but I know very well that someone like me is simply not worthy of her. I looked into Jiao Jiao's eyes today. Although it was only for an instant, it made me really happy. I really want to be by her side forever. No, I can't be so greedy. On each page, my elder sister's name was written all over. From the age of 18 to 28, Juyu's writing style developed from immature to mature, and his hidden love, like wild grass, grew wildly and uncontrollably. But over all these years, he said that the person he liked was me. The person who had always been by his side was also me. The person who was with him and eventually walked into the marriage hall was still me. My heart was stabbed sharply in an instant. Tears welled up uncontrollably and fell on the diary one by one, smudging the words. Whoosh! The wind blew in through the window and closed the thin cover. In a trance, I seemed to see Juyu appearing in front of me, his slender fingers pressed against that diary, and he was angrily questioning me why I had touched his things. My face turned pale, and my lips trembled. But before I could speak, a blinding white light flashed before my eyes. Jiang Fanxing. You're as naggy as a housekeeper every day. It's really annoying. The milk splashed on me. The pain made me open my eyes suddenly. But when I saw Juyu's unruly face, I couldn't help but be stunned. The familiar campus corridor, the blue and white school uniform. Was I back to the year when I was 18? At the age of 18, Juyu lost his right ear's hearing due to an accident 2 years ago. Since then, he had become withdrawn and full of violence. He was like a hedgehog with thorns all over, refusing anyone to get close to him. Even if someone took one more look at him, he would think that person was either sympathizing with him or laughing at him. He would go crazy and smash all the things within his sight on the spot. As a result, he was expelled from many schools, until he transferred to my school and became my deskmate. His mother blocked my way on my way home from school. The cold wind blew through the silver strands in her hair. Her eyes were red, and she held my hand tightly, begging me to take more care of Juyu. I softened my heart and agreed to this mother's request. So the cut fruits prepared for him, the carefully prepared bento, and a bottle of milk every morning. All these should be given to me, and I would take them to him. After he threw them away again and again, and I faced his cold looks, his outbursts of anger and his scolding again and again, I would perseveringly put them back into his hands, until later. His attitude towards me suddenly changed. I thought I had finally warmed his heart, unexpectedly. It was just because I was the younger sister of the school beauty, Jiang Jiaojiao, and he liked her. Why don't you say anything? Have you become a mute? I looked up in response and bit my lip. I had known Juyu for 10 years and been in love with him for 7 years. In the first 3 years, I had no dignity in front of him. In the following 7 years, I lived in the lies he wove for me and his utilization of me, thinking of my feelings for him and everything I had done for him. I suddenly laughed. You're right. Juyu frowned, not understanding what I meant, until I bent down and picked up the bottle of milk on the ground. His frown relaxed a bit, and he snorted, looking as if he had expected it. Even if you pick it up, it's useless. I've said that I won't accept. Bang! I raised my hand and threw the milk into the trash bin. Juyu's pupils trembled, and he was instantly stunned on the spot. What are you doing? I ignored him and turned around to leave. There was only one thought left in my mind. Stay away from him. The farther, the better. As soon as the first class ended, I rushed to the office and applied to the head teacher to change my seat. When I came back, Juyu, who had always been idle and didn't even want to bring a pen during exams, was burying his head in writing something. And he was writing very seriously. I glanced at it. It was that diary. My heart skipped a beat. So his secret love for Jiang Jiaojiao had been there for such a long time, and every stroke he wrote seemed to be carefully depicting his sincere feelings. Thinking of his scrawly handwriting on ordinary days, it turned out that his handwriting could also be so beautiful. When he finally noticed my presence, Juyu hurriedly closed the diary and put it into the desk drawer. The tenderness and care in his eyes just now were completely gone, replaced by disdain and arrogance. Have you finished throwing a tantrum? You still know to come back. He started with a sarcastic remark. He thought that I had disappeared right after class because I was avoiding him. Then, he crossed his legs. Apologize to me, and I'll forgive you for throwing away the milk my mother gave me without permission. In front of Juyu, apologizing had long become a habit for me. But this time, I chose to refuse. Juyu, I don't owe you anything, and I never have. He laughed, looking very indifferent. After all, he would turn a deaf ear to whatever I said. Every time before, when I was pushed to the limit by him, I would say things like I won't care about you anymore. But as long as he deliberately showed the hearing aid in his right ear and that pitiful expression, I couldn't help but soften my heart. Going around in circles, I would still come back to him. In the eyes of others, I was like a dog that couldn't be chased away no matter how hard they tried. So this time, Juyu's eyes were still full of confidence. Until I packed all my things clean, the confident light in his eyes suddenly dimmed, and he realized that something was wrong. Jiang Fanxing. What are you going to do? Change my seat. The head teacher has already agreed. In an instant, Juyu's face changed. Jiang Fanxing, you've grown bold. No matter who the hell agrees, it's useless. You're not allowed to change. I said no, and that's final. He rushed forward to grab my school bag. I was so scared that I quickly protected my things. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Juyu gritted his teeth, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Do you really want to change? I nodded firmly. Yes. The moment the words fell, with a loud bang, Juyu kicked over the desk in front of him. The things on the desk also fell down with a clatter, and I was so scared that my legs went weak, and I almost fell to the ground. I knew it. You never wanted to be my desk mate from the very beginning. It's all false affection. Just because I'm deaf in one ear, you're just sympathizing with me and pitying me. Now you can't pretend anymore. Can you? Get out. Get the hell out of here. Go away. He was like a wild beast out of control, with a scarlet color in his eyes. The surrounding classmates were so scared that they all fell silent and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Some students with quick legs secretly ran to find the teacher, and I hugged my school bag and quickly fled under Juyu's murderous gaze. Seeing that I had really left, Juyu's face turned even darker. The temperature in the classroom dropped to the freezing point. I sat in the new seat, my heart still pounding like a drum, and I didn't dare to look back at Juyu at all. At this moment, A hand with distinct knuckles came into my sight. "Hello, new deskmate. Please take care of me in the future." I turned my head sideways following that deep voice, and I was stunned to see a cold and clear face. Ji-Yu Cheng, the top student, my new deskmate. That Ji-Yu Cheng who was famous in school for his excellent grades but had a bad temper and was fierce in fights. Ji-Yu Cheng, who had a white phosphorus-like personality and would explode at the slightest provocation. "Why, you, hello, please take care of me." I stretched out my hand timidly and shook his hand carefully as a response. Seeing this, Ji-Yu Cheng raised his eyebrows slightly. He was clearly smiling, but his expression was a bit cold. "Classmate Jiang, am I that scary?" "Me, didn't he look scary?" TVT. At this moment, a chill suddenly ran down my spine. It seemed that something was staring at me intently behind my back, but fortunately, this terrifying feeling dissipated after the class bell rang. This was a math class. When I took out my test paper with a score of 37 points, Ji-Yu Cheng's test paper, which was close to full marks, was placed on the desk ostentatiously. I blocked the score written in red pen with my pencil case, feeling extremely embarrassed, as more and more writing appeared on the blackboard. It was like reading a book from heaven to me. My thoughts drifted away, and the scene in front of my eyes became more and more blurred. My head tilted, and in a drowsy state, I suddenly bumped into Ji-Yu Cheng's shoulder. I woke up instantly. Sorry. I put my hands together and apologized to Ji-Yu Cheng in the softest voice, feeling extremely flustered inside. Fortunately, he didn't care. He even promised me that if I had any questions I didn't understand, I could come to him at any time. I blinked my eyes, my face full of gratitude. "Really?" He nodded. "Really?" So when I took out the wrong question notebook that was piled higher than a small hill, he fell silent all of a sudden. After a while, he asked with some embarrassment, "Classmate Jiang, have you really been studying?" I felt even more embarrassed. My grades were just average originally, and because I had to take care of Ju-Yu, I spent most of my time on him. In my previous life, I barely managed to get into an undergraduate university, and Ju-Yu, he clearly scored more than 100 points higher than me and could have gone to a better school, but he insisted on filling out the application for the same school as me. He said it was because he didn't want to leave me alone there. I was so touched at that time, but I completely ignored the fact that the 985 university my elder sister was admitted to was right next to our school. "Do you have time on the weekend? If you do, I can give you tutoring privately." These words made me overjoyed immediately. I nodded like a chick pecking at rice, afraid that Ji-Yu Cheng would go back on his word the next second, but I still hesitated for a moment. "However, won't that delay your study progress?" Ji-Yu Cheng, no. I had already finished learning these knowledge points in the first year of senior high school. Me, okay, this is a dimensionality reduction blow from a top student. Me, then what about the tutoring fee? Ji-Yu Cheng, you don't need to pay either. Me, then what do you want? Ji-Yu Cheng, I want. He suddenly looked at me, and a smile tugged at the corners of his long and narrow eyes. "I haven't thought of it yet, Tilda." Me, he propped his chin with one hand, and with the other hand, his fingertips nimbly twirled the ballpoint pen. "Mainly, I really can't stand having someone who is often in my sight being too stupid and having poor grades in study." I fell silent again. "May I ask, is this the unique obsessive-compulsive disorder of top students? However, if I help you with tutoring, you should at least take care of my meals, right?" So Ji-Yu Cheng and I hit it off. He would help me with tutoring, and I would take care of his meals. The next day, on the way I took to school as usual, Ju-Yu's mother was standing in the cold wind waiting for me. The clothes on her were thin, and the fabric flapped in the wind. Her face was blue from the cold, and her hand holding the bag was also red from the cold, and I knew exactly what was in the bag. It was a bento specially prepared for Ju-Yu who didn't like the food in the cafeteria. It was the fruits specially cut for him and a bottle of milk that was a regular item every morning. But this time, when she smiled and handed them to me, I didn't take them. I pursed my lips and said the words that had been turning over in my mind all night. "I'm sorry, Auntie. I won't send things to Ju-Yu anymore in the future." The smile on Mother Ju's face froze instantly, but then she seemed to think of something, and her expression softened. "Must be that child you threw the things away again and made you angry, right? Don't take it too much to heart." He actually wants to accept them, it's just that since that incident happened, his personality has become extremely stubborn. As long as you keep sending them, he will definitely accept them. Don't worry. As she said this, she tried to stuff the things into my hands again, but I dodged them subtly. Auntie, I really don't have time to take care of him. I also need to study and do my homework. Moreover, isn't it more convenient for you to give these things to him before he goes out? Mother Ju's eyes immediately welled up with tears, and she was about to kneel on the ground while crying. Just think of it as me begging you. Okay, I really have no other choice. If possible, I'd rather it was me who had the car accident instead of my son. I'm begging you, please help me. I'll kneel down for you. Okay, please. I was horrified. I quickly grabbed Mother Ju's arm, but I still couldn't stop her from kneeling straight down to the ground. Jiang Fanxing, what the hell are you doing? I was pushed aside forcefully and fell to the ground unexpectedly. My palm was scratched by the small stones on the ground, leaving long blood marks. I couldn't help but gasp, and tears welled up in my eyes non-stop. It hurt. When I looked up again, Juyu had already protectively stood his mother behind him. Fuming with anger, he glared at me coldly and hurled the most vulgar words at me. A great sense of grievance welled up like a tide, enveloping me tightly. My heart felt as if it had been torn open, and countless cold winds kept blowing in. The oppression made it almost impossible for me to breathe. I wanted to defend myself, but I couldn't say a word. In the end, it all turned into tears, falling one by one. She didn't bully me. I was the one begging her. Mother Ju took the initiative to defend me, but Juyu snapped back at her. Shut up. Can't I see for myself whether she bullied you or not? Why are you begging her? She looks down on me for being deaf and can't wait to stay as far away from me as possible. She even changed her seat and doesn't want to be my deskmate anymore. How can you still have the nerve to beg her? Then don't come to her. Don't pester her. A familiar voice reached my ears. The next second, Jiyu Cheng walked up from behind me. He put one hand in his pocket, slung his backpack diagonally over one shoulder, and walked slowly. He stopped in front of me and smiled faintly. Stop looking. I'm talking about you too, a family of shameless bloodsuckers. My heart jolted, and I raised my head. For a moment, I even forgot to cry. Jiyu Cheng first looked at Mother Ju. You can't even manage your own son, yet you expect someone else to take care of him. This is the first time I've seen someone so eager to find a new mother for their son. What's the matter? Can't you afford warm clothes at home? Why do you have to stand in the cold wind to wait for someone? Isn't there any place around here to shelter from the wind? Who are you trying to show this pitiful look to? You're just taking advantage of our classmate Jiang's soft heart. Then, he looked at Juyu. Yo, so you know how to feel sorry for your mother now. What were you doing when you threw away your mother's bento, fruits, and milk? Me, why do I always feel that the last sentence is a bit dirty? And you? Jiyu Cheng suddenly turned around and looked at me, scaring me so much that I jumped. I looked at him with tearful eyes, and the tears still hanging at the corners of my eyes kept falling. Jiyu Cheng fell silent for a moment. Forget it, I'm too lazy to scold you. Juyu still wanted to retort, but as more and more passers-by gathered to watch, and some even raised their phones to record, he glared at us and then left in a hurry with Mother Ju. After that, I thanked Jiyu Cheng. He frowned. Hey, they've gone far away. Can you stop crying? Okay. I sniffled, the wind blew, and my cheeks felt cold. I didn't want to cry either, but I have a condition where I can't control my tears. When my emotions fluctuate greatly, I can't say anything. My body will tremble uncontrollably, and I can only keep crying. If you shed one more tear, I'll punish you to write the formulas 100 times. I bit my lip hard, my eyes turning red from the effort of holding back, and my vision blurred with tears. Jiyu Cheng said seriously, write them from memory. So, my eyes became even redder. Jiyu Cheng, write them backwards from memory. Me, Jiyu Cheng is such a bad guy. Then, he took out the keys and pressed the remote control of the small electric scooter parked by the roadside twice with a beep beep. Get on. I didn't react at once. By then, he had already thrown his school bag into the basket of the scooter. What are you hooing for? We're going to be late for school. Do you plan to walk there by yourself? I ran over immediately. Thank you so much. Jiyu Cheng curled his lips. If you can get 2 more questions right and make me less angry, it'll be more useful than saying thank you 100 times. Okay, As soon as I sat on the back seat, the small electric scooter whooshed and shot forward. I suddenly bumped into Ji-Yu Cheng's back. And my nose stung, so close, I almost shed tears again. Slow down, TSK, you're so fussy. Although he said that, he still slowed down. However, I looked at the time. Well, you'd better hurry up. Forget it. Just go at your own pace. I'm not urging you, though. Ji-Yu Cheng, maybe it was because the weather was too cold, and the wind was even stronger when riding the small electric scooter. I looked up and found that the tips of his ears were all red from the cold. Ji-Yu Cheng tutored me for a month, and I covered his meals in the school cafeteria for a whole month. Soon, the second monthly exam came. Compared with my last exam results, I advanced more than 100 places in the school ranking. In the cafeteria, I sat opposite Ji-Yu Cheng, holding the test paper, feeling extremely delighted. Ji-Yu Cheng, aren't you going to praise me? I've made progress. Ji-Yu Cheng, who had been burying his head in his meal, didn't even look up. Yeah. Choo, not bad. Choo, you've made great progress. Choo. But, choo, you still have a lot more room for improvement. Choo. Me, I could tell that he was really hungry. I propped my chin with one hand. By the way, is there no one at home to cook for you? Actually, the food in the cafeteria tasted just so few students came to eat here. Even now, there were only a few people scattered in the whole cafeteria. Slap. Ji-Yu Cheng suddenly put down his chopsticks, picked up the empty plate, and stood up. I'm full. I'm going back to the classroom first. My heart skipped a beat, and I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything, he had already left. Strange. Did I offend him again? In the evening, when I got home, my parents had prepared a sumptuous dinner. All the dishes were my elder sister's favorites, and they kept putting food into her bowl, because this time, she had ranked second in the whole school again, just behind Ji-Yu Cheng. Our Jiao really brings honor to us. Keep up this good work, and you'll definitely be able to get into Tsinghua University or Peking University in the college entrance examination. Then, you can take your admission notice to the gravesite and let our ancestors see how promising my daughter, Jiang Beihuai's daughter, is. Old Jiang, you know what, that annoying colleague of mine. Her son goes to the same school as our daughter and is in the same grade. I've disliked her for a long time. Do you know how much her son scored in this exam? Oh, when I tell you the score, it'll make you laugh out loud. After she learned about our daughter's score, she was so angry that she didn't say a word and just turned around and left. It was clearly a dinner for 4 people. But I was the only one who was completely ignored. I really wanted to say something. I wanted to tell them that I had made a lot of progress this time, but I couldn't get a word in. I was just eager and waiting for a chance, until my mother finally noticed me. What's wrong with you again? I excitedly said the words that I had rehearsed in my heart hundreds of times, hoping that they could praise me just once. Even just one word would be fine, but my parents' faces instantly turned cold. With such a shameful score, you still have the nerve to mention it. In an instant, my smile froze on my face. It was like a basin of cold water being poured over my head. It drenched me from head to toe, making me feel completely cold. A crack appeared in my heart, and the coldness seemed to have thorns, constantly piercing inward. Why are you making such a gloomy face? Did I say something wrong? All right. Hurry up and eat. After that, go back to your room quickly. We don't want your elder sister to be affected by your bad luck. What if her grades drop next time? As she said this, she surprisingly took the initiative to put a shrimp into my bowl. I held the chopsticks and stared at the shrimp in the bowl, but I felt as if something was stuck in my throat. Mom, it's my elder sister who likes to eat shrimp, and I've been allergic to seafood since I was a child. Sitting at the desk, a small desk lamp almost illuminated my entire room. It was called a room, but actually, at first, it was just a storage room. My elder sister's name is Jiang Jiao. The Jiao in bright moonlight. My name is Jiang Fanxing, and the stars are destined to embellish the moon. We are twin sisters, but I was born ordinary. I'm slow at learning things, and I have a poor ability to accept new things. My grades are average, and my appearance is also average. My elder sister is different. She's smart and can understand everything with just a little explanation, and she's beautiful. When we were young, we used to live in the same room. We did our homework together, played together, and listened to the same bedtime story while hugging the same teddy bear. But after primary school, our parents separated us. They said I was stupid, I couldn't understand anything. Staying too close to my elder sister would affect her studies. After junior high school, we moved to a new house. It was when I came home from school that day and saw the old house empty until evening. I cried and knocked on the doors of all the neighbors before I learned about it. I followed the new address given by the neighbor aunt and found that they had already gone to bed. It was only when I appeared that my parents suddenly remembered something. The new house was much bigger than the old one. It was more than 100 square meters, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, but there was no place for me, so they had to tidy up the storage room. So, there was a bed, a desk, and a desk lamp in this family, only they accompanied me silently. From when I was 13 years old to when I was 18 years old, knock, 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 the door suddenly knocked, pulling my thoughts back. When I opened the door and saw my elder sister standing at the door, I couldn't help but be stunned. There's some leftover food from dinner, it'll go bad if we keep it until tomorrow. So here you are. There was a bowl of rice with a lot of dishes on top, the lean meat in the braised pork, the potatoes in the shrimp and potato stir-fry. She had reluctantly picked out the dishes that suited my taste from the ones that were to her liking. She stuffed the bowl into my arms and turned around in a hurry, but I called out to her, "Sister." She stopped in her tracks but didn't turn around to look at me. I pursed my lips and looked at her from behind. "Have you always looked down on having me as a sister?" She didn't say anything and went straight back to her room. She closed the door of her room. In front of me, it was pitch black. Only a little bit of scattered light came from my room behind me. "Jiang Fanxing, are you going to take care of dinner today?" Back in the room, I picked up my phone. It had been more than 10 minutes since I saw the message Jiyu Cheng sent me. "Me, have you eaten yet?" He almost replied instantly, "No." I looked down at the bowl of rice in my hand and then at the newly issued test paper. There were at least 3 big questions that I had no clue about. "Me, then teach me to do today's homework." Jiyu Cheng, "Okay, then." He sent me a location. It was a very old residential building. I followed the address and found Jiyu Cheng's home. The door was wide open and not locked. Before I even entered the door, I was stunned by the scene in front of me. The walls were damp and moldy, and a lot of the blackened wall paint had peeled off. The chandelier hung swaying from the ceiling, making a creak sound, as if it was going to fall down the next second, and the room was in a complete mess. It seemed that there had been a fierce quarrel before. All the things were scattered on the floor, and there were broken glass shards everywhere under my feet. Jiyu Cheng casually picked up the cardboard box standing by the wall, tore it into pieces, and spread them on the floor. "Come in." I looked around. "Jiyu Cheng, stop looking. I'm the only one at home, there's no one else." "Me, oh." I handed him the packed lunchbox. I also brought a pair of disposable chopsticks that I hadn't used before. Jiyu Cheng took it and opened it all at once. He wolfed down the food in just a few bites. "Where's the homework?" He glanced at me. I nervously took out the test paper from my pocket and handed it to him. "Jiyu Cheng, there's no other place to sit in my home, just make do with this." "Okay." I hesitated several times and finally nodded. "It's okay." We sat on the cardboard like that. For the 3 big questions, he used the most concise methods, but it still took me 2 hours to finally fully understand. The moment I calculated the final answer, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Every step was written extremely beautifully under Jiyu Cheng's guidance. I really hope that I can write this perfectly by myself in the next exam. I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. "You will. I've said that there are still more than 3 months until the college entrance examination, and you have a lot of room for improvement." Jiyu Cheng smiled. He took out a bottle of orange juice from somewhere and handed it to me. He also held a bottle in his own hand. He sat down beside me, unscrewed the cap, and took a big gulp. "When I first started tutoring you, I asked you what university you wanted to attend, and you said you hadn't decided yet. So what about now? Do you have a goal?" As he spoke, he tilted his head and looked at me. I thought for a while and said, "University A in our province. If I work hard, I might be able to strive for it." It was a first-class university. In the next 2 months, as long as I keep making progress, I think I have a good chance. "What about you, Jiyu Cheng?" "I want to go to University N." It was a top 985 university in the country. Although it was also in the south, it wasn't close to where we were. I just want to get into a university far away. I want to leave this place, leave this home. Oh, to be more precise, this isn't really a home at all. He had a father who was an alcoholic and a gambler, a mother who was extremely infatuated with love, and a broken self. Others might be joking around, but for Ji Yucheng, it was the truth. When I was very young, our family of 3 was actually very happy. Until that year, my father fell from the construction site while working and broke a leg. He took the compensation money and went home. Because he was afraid of facing the strange look of others, he never went out to look for a job again. He started drinking heavily, and even got addicted to gambling. Before long, the compensation money was all spent. We moved from a big house to a small one, and now to this shabby house. All the financial support of the family depends on my mother. Fortunately, I have good grades. I finished learning the later courses in advance and used the freed up time to do part-time jobs. I felt sorry for my mother because every time she earned money, my father would snatch it away, so I gave all the money I earned from part-time jobs to her and asked her to hide it secretly. But from which day did I stop giving her the money? It was when I found out that she actually gave all the money to my father, and what's more, she gave it to him voluntarily. I couldn't understand it, let alone comprehend it. I questioned her why she did that, but she just smiled, with her face full of those unrealistic illusions about love. She told me that my father wasn't like this before and used to treat her very well. She would always stay by his side and help him through the difficulties. After getting through this, they would be as loving as before. She even thought that she was partly responsible for my father's change, because she couldn't earn more money and couldn't give him more of the things he wanted. At this point, Ji Yucheng let out a scornful laugh. It's really ridiculous, isn't it? I didn't answer. I just felt a tightness in my chest and was very sad. Everyone has their own sufferings, others can't see them. But their sufferings weren't caused by me, my sufferings were caused by them. So I want to leave this place, and I even plan to completely cut off contact with them after I leave. Classmate Jiang. It's the same for you. He looked into my eyes, and his black pupils were shining. Ju Yu's sufferings weren't caused by you. No matter how much his mother begs you, the fact that you're willing to help him shows that you have a kind heart and are a good person. But this isn't something you have to do. There's no need to torture yourself. Understand? I nodded and let out a soft Before I left, Ji Yucheng told me to remember to live for myself. I walked out of that old and shabby residential area and returned to my small room. I looked up and out the window. The moonlight was beautiful tonight. The moonlight was bright, and the stars were also shining brightly. So I wrote down my new wish on a piece of paper. Little fish, swim quickly, freedom is all around. Then I folded the paper into a star and put it in a glass jar. The countdown on the wall made everyone cherish every second. My life was a 2.1-line routine: going to class, doing practice questions, and having meals. I asked Ji Yucheng to help me with tutoring to find and fill in the gaps in my knowledge. I even forgot about the existence of Ju Yu, until during the big break that day, he blocked me at the classroom door with red eyes. Why haven't you talked to me on your own initiative these days? Could it be that you're also going to abandon me? His voice was full of grievance, and I, who had just solved a big question, with a messy hair like a chicken coop that I hadn't washed for 5 days and my brain almost overheating from all the thinking. Then, Ju Yu handed me a bottle of milk. I misunderstood you that day. Consider this as my compensation to you. Please stop being angry, okay? Me. It took me a long time to remember what it was about. I had already forgotten it completely. Why did he still remember it? Sorry, I'm lactose intolerant. You can drink it yourself. I refused. I was just about to bypass Ju Yu and go out, but unexpectedly, he got angry on the spot. Come on, I've already given you a way out like this. Are you still going to be difficult with me? Jiang Fanxing, are you ever going to stop? I was speechless, facing his sudden change in attitude. I seemed to understand why. First of all, I'm not being difficult with you. Secondly, if the person you have a crush on is Jiang Jiaojiao, please go to her directly. Our relationship isn't good. So it's no use coming to me. Ju Yu's face froze. How do you know about this? But the next second, his expression turned into one of surprise and joy. So you've been ignoring me these days because you're jealous? Me, I originally wanted to ask you if you had solved that question. But it seems that you have a bigger problem to deal with now. Tilda. Ji Cheng walked into the classroom with his long legs, looking like he didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. I made a bitter face. Stop watching the show and help me out, will you? He's being so proactive in giving it to you, so you might as well take it. It's just a bottle of milk. As he said this, he stuffed the bottle of milk in Ju-Yu's hand into mine. Since he gave it to you, it's your thing now, right? He winked at Ju-Yu and asked with a smile. Ju-Yu was taken aback but still nodded. So the next second, Ji Cheng smiled and threw the milk in my hand into the trash can. Bang! Ju-Yu finally reacted and became very emotional. What are you doing? My palm felt cold, and there was a bottle of orange juice in it. Ji Cheng had just stuffed it into my hand. He replied with a smile. Since it's her thing, she can deal with it as she likes. Tilda. Then, his face instantly turned cold. Classmate Jiang said she doesn't like it. Can't you understand what I'm saying? Oh, right. She likes drinking orange juice now. Ju-Yu quickly picked the bottle of milk out of the trash can, looking very embarrassed. His hands were stained with a lot of dirty things, and there was even a strange smell. He was so angry with Ji Cheng that he almost cried. I'll fight you, fight me. Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Ji Cheng. That's great. The knuckles of his clenched fists cracked. Have I ever told you that I'm good at studying and even better at fighting? Ju-Yu panicked. He instinctively took a few steps back. Of course, he knew Ji Cheng was famous for being reckless when fighting. He would rather cause a lot of damage to himself while dealing a heavy blow to the enemy. But if he hadn't fought like that, he might have been almost beaten to death by his alcoholic father long ago. Ju-Yu backed down. He said a harsh word and then turned around and ran away. Ji Cheng turned to look at me. I thought he was going to say something about Ju-Yu, but when he opened his mouth, he said, "So what's the answer you calculated for that question?" Me, 17 times the square root of 2. He clicked his tongue. Are you sure? This time, I nodded without hesitation. I'm sure and certain. He smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Not bad, not bad. You've finally learned to be firm in your own thoughts. Haha Tilda. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. How dare he say that? At first, every time I finally calculated an answer and excitedly told him, he would always look serious and ask me, "Really? Are you really sure?" So I would fall into self-doubt and keep changing the answer. When I got a different result, he would tell me that the answer I calculated at first was correct. But now, I've learned, I must be confident in my own answers. No matter what others say, I mustn't waver. Ji Cheng, you see. Learning to follow your heart is also a great progress for you, right? I deliberately teased. Oh, in that case, I should thank you, right? Ji Cheng, no need, just buy me 2 more pig elbows for lunch today. Me, 2, Ji Cheng, 3 is also okay. Me, come on, this guy is really just starving. After I went back, the messages from Ju-Yu kept ringing non-stop. I only replied with one sentence. I told him that I was only focused on studying now and asked him not to bother me. Ju-Yu. So you've been ignoring me these days just because you want to study. What about after the exam? Will you talk to me then? I heard that your target university is University A. What a coincidence. I also want to go to University A. Don't care about the thing regarding your sister. I don't like her anymore. I found him extremely annoying, so I blocked him immediately. But since that day, Ju-Yu actually really became quiet. I was glad to have some peace and buried myself in a sea of questions every day. On the last day of the college entrance examination, when I came out of the examination room, I looked up at the sky. The sun was shining brightly, and I finally removed all the burdens on my body and felt much more relaxed. The examinees around me passed by and ran into the arms of their parents. Some parents were holding flowers, some were wearing kyongsams, and some were even holding banners, celebrating excitedly. I was alone and walked into the crowd. Jiang Fanxing. Suddenly, someone shouted my name. I stopped in my tracks and looked up sharply. It was Ji Cheng. He was holding a bouquet of flowers in his hand and came straight towards me. Here, I just bought them. I saw that everyone else had flowers, so I bought a bunch too. Finally, the exam is over. Tilda, are you happy? I looked at the bouquet of flowers, and my eyes somehow became moist. When did you come out, and you still had time to buy these? Ji Cheng, the questions this year were quite easy. I handed in my paper 20 minutes in advance. It's a pity that I could only hand it in 20 minutes early. thinking of myself scratching my head and struggling with the test paper in the examination room. I shouldn't have asked him. But, thank you, Ji Cheng, let's go. Today, I'll treat you to hot pot. That hot pot meal was steaming hot, and my heart felt warm too. It seemed that I hadn't been that happy for a long time. When the results came out, I actually performed beyond my usual level. I not only scored far above the first-class university admission line, but with this score, I could definitely apply for a good double first-class university. I told Ji Cheng this news as soon as possible. He was also happy for me, and his score was high enough to be admitted to the top major of University N. Ji Cheng, what about you? With this score, you should no longer consider University A, right? I nodded, yeah. I want to go to the north. I heard that the snow in Bincheng is very beautiful. Ji Cheng, I want to go there and take a look. Ji Cheng was taken aback for a moment. Bincheng was almost 2,000 kilometers away from Nancheng where University N was located. But then, he smiled at me. That's great. You can have your own ideas and a place you really want to go. Classmate Jiang, I'm really happy for you. That night, I received a verification message from Juyu's alternate account. His score was a bit higher than in the previous life, but he didn't know my score yet. Fanqing, on the day of the start of the semester, I have a surprise for you. Just wait, it will definitely surprise you. I thought he was crazy. I blocked his alternate account as well. On the day the admission results came out, Ji Cheng went to University N as he wished, and I also went to University H in Bincheng as I had hoped. But to my surprise, my elder sister, Jiang Jiaojiao. My parents had always asked her to apply for a 985 university in our province because it was close, and it would be convenient for her to go home on weekends and for them to visit her. Moreover, studying in our province would give her an advantage in finding a job here. My elder sister had always agreed. She filled in the volunteer as they wanted in front of my parents. They were very happy, and the banquet was almost ready, but she secretly changed her volunteer. My parents were furious. It was the first time I saw them lose their temper with my excellent elder sister. It was also the first time I saw my elder sister, who had always been a well-behaved girl, quarrel with them so fiercely. Over the years, in the eyes of my parents, she might have just been an excellent exhibit. Everything she got could only be based on her good grades. Now, she just wanted to go to the place she really wanted to go and study the major she really wanted to study. In a fit of anger, my parents drove her out of the house. When she was walking on the street, she happened to run into me. She looked at me and smiled bitterly. Fanqing, you know, sometimes I really envy you. You're not restricted and are free. I looked at my elder sister, feeling mixed emotions in my heart. But I also envy you. You're so dazzling and cherished by others. By my elder sister's side, I've always been the inferior contrast. Just like that, we looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. Finally, we hugged each other and burst into tears. That night, neither of us went home. Instead, we booked a hotel and ordered a lot of takeout, just like when we were children. We frolicked, chatted, and ate in the same room. The last time we had such a scene was many, many years ago. It had been so long that both of us felt in a trance. The other day you asked me if I also disliked having you as a sister. Actually, I've never had such a thought. She lowered her eyes, and a hint of sadness showed in her beautiful eyes. When did I finally realize that I had to stay away from you? Maybe it was the day when I suddenly found that everyone around me was praising me, but my younger sister was in a corner where no one paid attention, trying hard to maintain a flattering smile and attempting to please everyone. I wanted to do something for you, but I found that, apart from staying away from you and concealing our sister relationship outside, I seemed to be able to do nothing. Mom and Dad are always used to belittling you to praise me. You know, a long time ago, I had a dream. I dreamed that after you graduated from university, you married a person named Juyu. I thought you had finally found your own happiness, until I accidentally discovered that the person he liked had always been me. He got close to you and married you because of me. I know that it's Mom and Dad's comparison and vanity that made you suffer these hardships since childhood, but I'm also to blame. I'm an indirect culprit. So at that moment, I felt even more guilty. I thought, how great it would be if I didn't exist. Maybe God heard my voice. When a runaway truck rushed towards a child, I pushed him away in time. Originally, in that dream, I wanted to end my own life. But unexpectedly, I saved a life. As my elder sister spoke, she smiled, but as I listened, I cried. On the day we went to school, we parted at the station. I sent my elder sister onto the train first. After that, Ji Yu Cheng watched me leave. The three vehicles drove in different directions, and we began a new stage of our lives. Ju Yu went to University A. On the day he reported to the school, he prepared a grand confession ceremony at the school gate, but he didn't wait for me. He only waited to be criticized and announced throughout the school. He entered that school with a score 150 points higher than the admission line. This alone was already incredible. Now, he was even more famous in the school. Wherever he went, he would encounter strange looks and whispers from others. That night, he added me with his secondary alternate account. He cried and asked me where I had gone. We had agreed to apply for University A, so why was he the only one who went there now? I twitched the corners of my mouth and blocked him again. I even pulled out the phone card and got a new number. The new semester was very busy. However, Ji Yu Cheng and I still kept in touch. He had a strong desire to share. Even if he saw some flowers and plants by the roadside, he would take pictures and show them to me. My heart ached suddenly. Okay, but by the time the final exams were over, it was already winter. The snow in Bincheng was indeed beautiful. It was thick and glistening. It was the first time I had seen snow. I was so excited that I took a lot of photos and sent them to Ji Yu Cheng. Me, Ji Yu Cheng. I finally waited for the day it snows. Isn't it beautiful? Ji Yu Cheng on the other end of the phone responded. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I smiled and kicked the snow on the ground with my toes. You sound so sincere, as if you've seen it with your own eyes. Ji Yu Cheng, how about you turn around and take a look? A voice came from both the phone and behind me at the same time. My heart tightened, and I turned around abruptly. Ji Yu Cheng was actually standing behind me. Surprise Tilda. Are you happy? Oh, right. I specially brought you some specialties from my place. Didn't you keep saying you wanted to try them before? My nose stung. This time, it was me who rushed towards him. The end.